Hello. So this is going to be the first video I record on the basics of sound design when it comes to bass sound design. For this video, you will need headphones, and for any subsequent videos after this in this little series, I am making this first and foremost for my friend, Charlotte. I'm kind of taking her under my wing as a quote-unquote mentor-esque. But this video is also going to be posted onto YouTube, so keep in mind whenever I'm talking, I may talk as in saying you. I'm mostly talking as a whole for whoever's watching this, but specifically to the person I'm making this video for. So I may reference things that you might not exactly know. If y'all have questions and are watching this otherwise, let me know. All right, let's get started. We're going to talk about harmonics and frequency modulation and phase distortion. When you should use what? We'll start off with operator, because even though Serum 2 has a great built-in wavetable editor, you cannot add harmonics and instantly hear them. You have to let go of your mouse to listen to them. So it's a little easier to learn how harmonics work whenever you're using something like operator, because you can actually add them immediately and hear them. You can see that. What are harmonics? They're sounds. So, essentially, harmonics are the building block of any sound. They are, when you're talking about harmonic as an umbrella term, a harmonic is essentially a sine wave. Every single sound is built up by sine waves that are stacked on top of each other in such a way where they interact with the sine waves that are below it. And they interact in such a way that creates a unique sound. There is a term for this that's also called sine stacking. But whenever you hear the term sine stacking, just know that the basic idea is just harmonics. There's the fundamental frequency, which is the note that you are playing, and then infinite harmonics to mess around with. Each harmonic is a multiple based on the number that it's called. So the second harmonic is a multiple of 2 from the fundamental, third harmonic multiple of 3, so on and so forth. Even and odd harmonics have different timbre. So usually most plugins that let you affect the harmonics in an oscillator, they let you separate between even and odd. In operator, you can right click and choose even or odd harmonics to edit. You hear it's a little more dissonant, a little less clean. Odd harmonics are the best for kind of growly sounds. If you right click and do even instead, you'll hear it's much brighter, much more melodic, much less dissonant. And that's because the even harmonics all have the octaves in there. Second harmonic, 4th, 8th, 16th, so on and so forth. From there, we have the basics of how harmonics work. Nothing crazy, nothing in depth. You just understand that they exist. We'll create our first sound right click. It's super easy. We're going to go ahead and take this operator. We're going to go ahead and, you can also do this in Serum. You're going to go ahead and go to the 16th harmonic, and we're going to turn it up to the same level as bin 1. Add that 16th harmonic, please. And you'll hear, it's just that an octave up. What's the big deal? If you add a saturator, and then an OTT, you have your first bass. Turn the downward down a little bit. So that's a kind of a screechy bass from like a bro step song. This is sine stacking in its most fundamental form. If you ever made this sound before, you've probably made it by opening up Serum, having 2 sine waves, one of them 4 octaves up. Same thing, OTT, saturator. That's it. That's all that is. But you can do that so much easier by just adding or making it a harmonic instead. So that's all you need to know for harmonics. You don't necessarily need to know any specific ones that work well together. You could just kind of mess around. Mess around with automating them, I'd say. If you're looking for a good alternative to operator inside of FL Studio, Citrus is a great alternative. One of my friends uses that religiously. So let's go ahead and move over to Serum 2 officially. You're welcome. And start talking about FM and PD, frequency modulation in phase distortion, or phase modulation. In the original Serum, there was no real frequency modulation. What was called FM was phase distortion. The reasoning for that is because that FM, while being a overall more versatile, is a lot harder to kind of get started with. Phase distortion is easier to modulate, which is kind of Serum's whole thing. It also has kind of a less harsh sound. While it's not quite as malleable as frequency modulation is, you can do a lot more tinkering with it by just hopping in and doing it. FM requires you to be pretty precise if you want to get a specific sound out of it. This is my basic preset for CRM2. All my wavetables are on, but they're all levels at 0 except for the first one. The reasoning for that is because in order to FM inside of CRM2, you have to have the oscillator on. But that level's at 0, so you can't hear it, but it'll still be able to be modulated. Oscillator B is currently modulating oscillator A with FM. So you can open this, press FM from B, and you'll see in the oscillator these waveforms being added. You can see the waveform, you can see the sine wave inside of here. You're modulating one sound into another. You can right-click the semitones in an oscillator, press mode, and press harmonics to show the harmonics of a sound instead of just the semitones. If you turn this up, you can get really crazy sounds with it. My favorite ratios, 3:1 is a really great one, a classic. 4:1. 5:1 is a great one. I use 5:1 all the time. It's very common for me to use 5:1. Most odd ratios are great. You can mess with the harmonics of your modulator to change the timbre of the sound in very unique ways. That also goes with adding harmonics. So you can actually go ahead and add harmonics to your modulator. Create kind of like weird peaks and valleys. That's where you get these really growly, grungy sounds almost. That'd be great. That would be a great place to modulate. Whenever you're modulating FM, you really want to do lower or like slower sweeps, because faster sweeps means more kind of artifacts and glitching. Slower sweeps give you these really nice smooth sounds. They in a way are kind of beautiful, and you can add your own harmonics on top of this to your carrier. If you want to add a quick noise fix, you can literally just take a harmonic and turn one up through here. You kind of have a really just digital noise sound. There are 3 different types of modulation, of frequency modulation. There's through 0, which is the default. Exponential, which can get much crazier. I don't know the exact difference between all of them, but they do sound different, so just experiment with them. You can hear it kind of has like a build-up. And then FML or FM linear. This one sounds the worst when it comes to modulating. If you're going for that kind of sound, that's great, because it also wobbles whenever you are not modulating it at all. So let's go ahead and go out of the FM world finally again and go into the PE world. We're going to PE class, everybody. Put on your fucking gym shorts. Take your fucking pants off. Anyway, at first glance, will seem very similar to FM. Maybe a little bit different, but not by much, right? That's the entire point of phase modulation. For my little potheads out there, phase distortion is kind of like Delta 8. Phase distortion is 2% milk. Phase distortion is Mr. Pibb. Phase distortion is the iPhone 5C. I'm trying to think of more, but I think you get the fucking idea. Phase distortion is what people use when they can't get FM to work properly, or they want to use an alternative that's a little easier for people to understand. The reason why a lot of people use phase distortion over FM is because it's easier to modulate. To be honest with you, I mentioned that whenever you use FM modulation, you want to have a slow, sweeping modulation. Well, for phase distortion, you don't need all that. We can take this. Not perfect, doesn't sound incredible, but if we take it and turn the harmonics up, ratios again, you have a sound. It's super easy to mess with phase distortion because you don't have to really dial in every single sound. You can kind of just mess around. Fuck around and find out, you know? Phase distortion works best in that case, whenever you're just fucking around and finding out. If you're going for a specific sound, like a 2014 to 2016 serum growl, phase distortion is right up your alley. If you're trying to modulate an FM sound, phase distortion might be your better bet. Overall, it is just different. It's better for certain things compared to others. FM is great for non-modulating sounds. So for things like noise basses and bells, or if you're focusing on filtering over modulating the FM amount, then you might be better with FM over phase distortion. It just has different strengths and weaknesses. Unlike FM, there is no different types. It's just phase distortion. AM and RM, amplitude and ring modulation. I won't go into them in detail, but I will show you what they do. AM, if I turn this down to -24, it's like a volume LFO. It uses the waveform as a volume modulator. If we start turning it up, it starts getting a little crazy. You're modulating the waveform's volume with another waveform that's going even faster, so it's adding these big peaks in there. Now, we can get a little crazy with it. We're at a sub level right now, but if we go up, you'll see it's going fast enough to where it's giving you kind of a, I don't know how to describe it other than it just sounds grainier. It's just very quickly automating the volume. But that's AM modulation. Amplitude, volume. Ring modulation, don't know what the fuck it does. All I know is that whenever you're using it to modulate sounds, it has a very unique sound. All my songs use ring modulation in one way or another because that's in my sidechain. I can't tell you what it does because I don't know what it does. I don't know what the difference is between ring and amplitude, but I do know there is a difference. You probably know it from Kilohertz Ring Mod. You can just use it on its own, with its own waveform. It's like we change it. It's just ring mod. This is just your ring mod frequency. I'm going to go ahead and get off of this now before I go even ramblier in this. If you have any questions, please let me know. Next thing I'm going to be recording is the filter video. So I'll see you then.